wonder if I can record outside today. I don't think I can. Hey guys, it's Robin the Lady Biker. How is everyone doing today? Well, don't let the sunshine behind me fool you. It is windy outside. Oh my gosh, too windy today to actively do this on the motorcycle. I know. But anyway, so I did want to get on here today just to talk a little bit about some things that you should definitely do when you are going on your next long motorcycle road trip. All right, come on, let's talk about it. All right, tip number one, guys, decide if you're gonna plan your route or not. All right, when you're a rider, there are basically on a motorcycle road trip, two kinds of riders. Those that say, I just need a direction, and they're gone. They point the forks, they're gone, they ride till they're tired, they find food, they find accommodations, they're good to go. They get up the next day and do it again. The other type of rider is pretty much what I am. I have to have a planned out route. Otherwise, it stresses me out, and that kind of defeats the purpose of a road trip, right? So determine what kind of person, what kind of rider you are. Now, regardless of that, always, always, always have at least two ways to figure out where the heck you are and where you want to go in case you have an issue. Now, if you're planning a route like I do, I normally will have a lot of different apps such as the Harley Trip Planner, Scenic, a few other things like that I use to kind of plan what route I want to go, a rough idea. But you know, we've all been there where we've looked around and gone, I don't know where I am. Where am I? Always have at least two ways to figure it out. Even though I primarily use Google Maps to determine where I am, where I'm going, I do it for the traffic stuff as well, but also have backups because sometimes you need them. Love, love, love paper maps because it doesn't matter if you've got cell service or not. You have one of those, you can usually figure your way to someplace before the dark or shortly thereafter. So always carry a good GPS and paper backups. But the other thing is, guys, if you're a wild and free kind of person, then your route's perfect anyway. But if you're a planner like me, be willing to be flexible. Be willing to take detours. Be willing to go, oops, the planner told me this was a paved road and it's not. And if you're on a big heavy cruiser like I am, I'm not afraid of maintained dirt roads, but I also don't want to do miles and miles of it if I can avoid it. So make sure that you're willing to be able to be flexible because you may stop one night and someone tell you about this great little place that you have to go stop and see that's a little bit off your route. Don't be afraid to take those side trips because guys, that's where some of the most amazing places all over this world are. All right guys, tip number two, decide if you're riding solo or not. Are you riding solo? Are you riding with one other person? Or are you riding with a group? Make that decision ahead of time. Now, it depends on the trips. Sometimes I take off and go solo and I love it. It is amazing. Most of the time whenever I'm traveling, I travel with my husband. Every once in a while, we'll travel with a group. Now, when you're doing these kinds of things, if you're riding solo or with one other person, maybe two, those are pretty straightforward, but especially if you end up riding with a group. Like I do a lot of times whenever I go with the Glow girls and our guys that come along for the ride. I mean, these trips can be up to 35, 40, 45 people. Now, personally, I don't like riding in that big of a group. For a short day ride, not a problem, but for like a long trip, like for whenever we went to Esperance, which it was a great trip, but Allie and I knew that we did not want to ride with the main group itself. So if you're gonna be in a large group, ahead of time, make sure A, you know where all the rally points are, and B, you let the group organizer and road captain know that you're gonna be riding independent of the group. So that if you don't make it to the rally point, somebody knows that something's wrong and they know to go look for you. Just a few tips. Now, for those of you who ride solo and are women, It's always, always, always so important. Share with somebody where you are. Share with them your route, share with them your location. Just let somebody know where you are. It's a safety thing, guys. I know there are some women out there that are just so empowered, but it's a safety thing, guys. It really is. So, couple of tips. One, I'm actively sharing my location on my phone with my husband, so at least one person knows where I'm at. In addition to that, I've purchased some Apple trackers that I will be putting in my duffel bag that will be strapped to the back of my bike. I'll drop one into my saddlebag. I'll put one in my helmet. I'll put one in my jacket pocket. Just a handful of trackers. So if for some reason I'm ever separated from my phone, I still have multiple ways of somebody being able to find me. It's just a safety thing, guys. All right, tip number 3. Guys, decide ahead of time if you're going to be planning out your accommodations or not. Now, this is really 2 big schools of thought. I know a lot of people are, I'll worry about it from day to day, because if I get tired, I don't want to have to ride to a specific distance. Or if I'm feeling good, I want to keep going. There's the train of thought that being able to have that flexibility takes the stress off of some people. And if so, that's great. But I would encourage you to have at least 2 to 3, maybe even 4 options for accommodations in a general area, because you just never know. You may show up in a town and find out there's a convention and a lot of places are booked out. So make sure that you have some backup ideas in place before you go. Now, if you're like me, I have to know that I have accommodations, a place to sleep when I get there. I know whenever I plan them, I plan every single one from start to finish. That's just me. I would rather have to either push through or stop early and get the extra rest to know definitely I have a place to stay that night. But then again, maybe you're a little bit of both. Maybe you're gonna plan 3 or 4 nights ahead, and one evening on your trip, you're gonna spend the time to plan another 3 or 4 nights ahead. Find what works for you. You just kind of have to figure out what works. All right, guys, tip number 4. Decide on what gear you want. This is not only just what kind of bag you're gonna carry, it's also what kind of gear you're gonna wear. If you're riding in very, very hot weather, do you have the kind of gear that's gonna keep you comfortable? This is all about comfort, because the more comfortable you are riding, the longer distances you're gonna go every day. So heat, I always wear a mesh jacket. I carry lighter weight gloves, and I definitely carry my hydration pack. No ands, no ifs, no buts. In colder weather, I make sure I layer heavily, because it starts out like the one I've got coming up. It's supposed to be, down around upper 30s. So we're talking like 2-3 degrees whenever I wake up. But by the day, middle of the day, it's going to be, pushing, I'm having to do all the conversions in my brain. Low 20s, which is about right around 70. You kind of have to plan ahead. So in the mornings, I'm going to need layers, but by the afternoon, I'm not going to need as many. Look at your gear, review your gear, see what's in good condition and what isn't, replace what you need to, upgrade what you can, because the more comfortable you are, the better your trip is going to be. All right, guys, and tip number 5 is make sure your bike's ready. Spend the time to do the maintenance, to do any repairs, to make any upgrades, but then also take the time to test them out, because if you don't have the bike ready beforehand, whenever you're at home and you have plenty of time to do any kind of repairs if you need to, you're gonna find yourself out on the road and maybe losing a day or 2 of your trip because you're having to get something fixed on your bike. I know there are some freak things that you just can't avoid, but avoid the ones that you can. All right, guys, well, those are just a few little tips and tricks, especially for those of you that are new to riding or who are gonna be riding solo for the first time and long distance. Take the time, Go through everything, decide what kind of rider you are. And this takes a little time and a little experience. You're gonna fail sometimes. You're gonna wildly succeed at others. The point is that you're getting out on the road, you're getting out and you're experiencing. Definitely do these kinds of things, guys. So that's all I've got to say for today. So a couple of questions for y'all. Number one, if you're an experienced traveler, long distance traveler, and I'm talking someone who goes on 3, 4, 5, 6 days a week, 2-week, 3-week trips, long, multiple day trips, is there any tip that you would add to the list I gave? And the other side of it is if you're looking at doing this or you're new to doing this, do you have any questions? Pop all that down in the comments. Let's get the conversation going, because the more we share in this community, the richer the community becomes, don't you think? All right, guys. Well, even though I wasn't able to get out and ride today, tomorrow is supposed to be gorgeous and the wind is supposed to be calmer. Do what I'm gonna do, guys. When you can, get out and ride. When you do, have fun. Be safe. And I'm gonna catch you on the road on the next video. Bye, guys.